Welcome to another episode of The Maker's Bar. I'm your host, Jennifer Loading, and wherever you are tuning in today, we are so thrilled to have you. My guest today is Dr. Anand Lalwani. He's the co-founder of Cardinal Robotics, and we are so excited to have him here today. So welcome to the show.
Thank you, Jennifer. Pleased to be here.
Awesome. All right. So I'm excited to chat with you because as I mentioned to you before I jumped on here, robotics and technology is obviously not my world at all. So I'm excited to chat with you and learn a little bit about your company, what you do, kind of the background. So let's get this thing started. I want to talk a little bit about Cardinal Robotics. Tell us a little bit about what this company is and what you guys do for your clients.
Certainly. So we are a robotic solution provider. We work with the top Fortune 100 companies in helping them adopt, deploy, maintain fleets of robots, specifically focused in the cleaning area, food delivery, hospitality. Those are our primary core focuses. And we provide everything from bumper to bumper warranty to the technicians that will actually go and fix these robots, the deployment, the financing. We take care of our clients through and through.
Powerful. And how long have you guys been in existence now?
A little over 4 years now. We started just when the pandemic was kicking off.
Congratulations. I know it's so interesting when I talk to people. A lot of people started businesses right before the pandemic or right in the middle of them. And I think it's so interesting to see the ones that actually weathered through that. They started and they kind of made it through on that other side. So congratulations to you. That's awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah.
We started actually in response to the pandemic. So had the pandemic not happened, we probably would not be doing this.
Yeah, I know. And I think it's such a neat thing because, like I said, it's not something I'm familiar with. But, I'm sitting here and I'm thinking right now, when we go into the Chili's and they have those little robots, that go around and they take you to your table and they sit you down. And I'm like, it's so neat to see where we are, in technology in this day and age. It's like, who would have thought, we've got cars that can drive and we got these robots sitting you down at tables to eat. And now everything is you go to a table, you can pay on these little pads. You very seldom even have to have a waitress come to the table and they take the order, go back, they put the, the little box on there. So it's so interesting how far we've come.
No, it's great.
Awesome. All right. So I would like to know a little bit about what led to this. Maybe your previous, where you were before this. And then what was kind of the inspiration to bring this together?
Yeah, so I've been lucky enough to be involved in a couple of other startups back in the day where we got early exits. My first one, we were in the retail space. Started off as a class project at Stanford, and Target ended up loving us and acquiring us right off. Second one was in the battery space with Samsung. And then while I was wrapping up my PhD at Stanford itself in engineering, the pandemic was kicking off. So this is circa March 2020, shelter in place just got announced. Everybody is disinfecting all the time. Everybody's cleaning everything. No one is leaving their homes. And what we noticed were a large number of the janitorial workforce were literally dying because they were wearing PPE. They were spraying these H2O2 and disinfectants all day, every day. They were in the front lines. They were the ones who were contracting these diseases. And they would just get COVID, have comorbidities, and not survive. And unfortunately, they weren't given the same level of love or respect as our nurses did, as our doctors did. So the Stanford Hospital approached us and they're like, hey, can you help build a solution for this specific use case? Because we are spending a ton of money on disinfecting. And for me, it was more over the human cost associated with it. Not just the financial cost was so high. And we had no idea if and when we would ever see an end in sight. We're like, is this going to become the new normal? Are we going to be wearing masks all day, every day? And are we going to have to disinfect all spaces constantly? And if so, there has to be a better solution. And that's how we got started off. We had our very first UVC robot that we were manufacturing in San Jose itself. We had a contract manufacturer. Target was our first customer, Stanford Hospital, our second customer. And that's how we got kicked off at Cardinal.
Yeah, wow. I like it. Well, and I like a couple things that you said. You found obviously found a need. You found there was a pain point and a need. And it's so crazy because I feel like these are conversations I keep having with people outside in different, aspects of my world. It's like when you find that need, right? Find the pain point and you can fix that pain point. That's when you've got something good. But I also like that you said there it was not just about the money, it was also about the people, right? Like there was this other component to this for you. It wasn't just about, hey, we got a need here and we definitely can do well on this, but it's also you're solving a crisis need, a real thing here that can make a difference. So I
Yes.
love that.
There is a very, very strong social mission behind what we are doing. In my
Yeah.
previous companies, we helped rich people get very rich, and that was fun. But this time around, we're like, hey, we want, like, our mission, quote unquote, is to help every single janitor, every single blue collar worker become a robot operator. Folks, when they bring in robots, their job is, oh, we want to go and replace these people. And I was like, that's not the goal. There's already such a huge shortage. And your robots are not there yet. Technologically, we are not there yet. Maybe 20 years from now, we will be. In the
Yeah.
interim, why not help those who would otherwise be forgotten by automation, forgotten by technology? Give them the skill sets to help the robots perform their tasks. And you go from being just a janitor who's using a mop and broom or a backpack vacuum to using a tablet to
Mm,
do multiple different tasks simultaneously. And that has always been our core mission because robots by themselves can't do these tasks.
right.
Humans by themselves are struggling to finish these tasks. Labor costs have gone up. It's backbreaking. There's an aging population. People are getting injured all the time. So why not marry the best of both worlds and help upskill this entire labor workforce and give them better quality jobs, give them pride back into their work?
Wow. I love it. Yeah, that's good. It's good. I'm listening to that. I think it's so awesome. So this is your third startup, which I think is impressive because I know those are no easy feat. I think anytime all of us have been entrepreneurs, we do different things. I think anytime you start something up, there's these phases you've got to go through, right? Like you got the excitement, but then there's the implementation, all the pieces that go back. But I'm always intrigued by these people that do multiple things because I think it's impressive that you start something and we know not all of them come to fruition, but you've had a really good success pattern here. I like this. I would like to know, with this particular one, maybe some challenges that you guys had to overcome in the beginning, other than we know it was started at the beginning of the pandemic, which was huge. But I know, in business, there's a lot of different things that come up.
I mean, Jennifer, every day is a challenge. Like, there is not a single day where you're not fighting a battle, and that's
Right.
the joy of being in a startup. And
Yeah.
oftentimes, these are existential threats that you're facing
Right.
constantly down the throat. I can clearly remember, like, back 4 years ago when we had our disinfecting robot, our first customer was going to be Target. We were doing a massive demo. We had spent 6 months building the robot as per their specs, and then we finally got their VP. His name is Lee Davis. He's still at Target. Love him. uh, Lee is there and he's looking at me through the screen. It was a telepresence robot. I was controlling it in Palo Alto, and this was happening in Minneapolis. And, like, as I'm talking to Lee, he starts tilting in the screen in slow motion. And
Oh
then I
no.
realize it's actually my robot that's tilting. And my robot falls and it breaks and it shatters into multiple different pieces. I start crying right then and there. I was like, oh my goodness, this is the biggest client, the first customer. You spent so much time and effort trying to get in there, and it literally falls apart in front of them. So you start over there, and I think you pick up your pieces. And credit to Lee, actually, he said that do you think the Wright brothers got their plane right the first time?
Right.
And he gave us multiple chances, and we kept coming back because we were solving a true problem. Then came the next problem of financing these. Uh, Stanford Hospital, they wanted to buy our robots. We ran into issues with procurement. Procurement kept trying to negotiate. Capital budgets were not getting allocated as per the way we wanted. So how do you figure out how to finance these out? So again,
Right.
working with the customer at the hospital, the director of EVS, his name is Bhushan Shalat, again, big champion of ours, helped us really shape us to who we are today. We sat together and collaboratively came up with a solution of how do you finance these robots so we don't have to deal with procurement and we don't have to deal with capital budgeting. And that became a large part of our entire business model today.
Mm,
Then came servicing. These robots, again, they break down often. We were now selling robots across the country, and robots kept having problems where they were constantly breaking down. So, how do you go and fix them in a reliable manner without having to fly technicians around all the time? So, creating that entire workflow. So, every time you come across a problem, finding a way to creatively solve it. Right now, our biggest nightmare is data security.
Mm,
Most of the robots we have, the best in class robots, are coming from China, from Asia. But nobody wants that data to go back to China, especially
right.
given our relationships right now between the two countries. So how do you protect that? How do you safeguard that? And I'd say we are the only ones in the country today that have some of the best solutions we have had to develop for our clients, like Bank of America, like JP Morgan. They would not be buying our robots without that.
No, that's good. And thank you for sharing all of those. And I like the very first story. And I think this question is so good because I think often people look at these, work companies like yours or some of these other big companies and they're doing well and they say, you don't hear those pain points, right? But we know, you and I, like, I love that you said every day because it's funny. I joke about this. I've had lots of mentors in my life, but I have this one mentor that I worked with for 2 years, and he was a really like grind down to like tell it like it is kind of guy from Scotland. I think it was Scotland. Anyways, he said if you don't have a fire burning every single day, you're not doing it right. And in there is whether it be in your marketing, your sales, your product, or your team, you always have a fire burning. And I've been an entrepreneur, for a really long time. So I kind of learned a lot of that very early on in my network marketing space. They told us that. So I'm very used to having risk. I'm just used to it always being like that. So I love that you said that because I think a lot of times people think it's not like that. And it is that way, lots of perks to this, but you've got to have the pain points in order to get to the perks and the benefits and the wins.
Yeah. My favorite example, like the person I love to quote, similar to the one who you just mentioned from Scotland, is even Jensen Huang. He recently said this, that had he known how painful it would be to build NVIDIA, he would never have built NVIDIA.
Mm,
Or Elon Musk, another legend in the field, is like building a startup is eating grass and staring into the abyss every single day.
yeah.
And I really like those two sentiments are so accurate. And then the highs are high, but the lows are really, really low.
Yeah.
So it's the sad part where, yes, being like an entrepreneur, being a founder is considered, oh, that's so sexy, oh, that's so cool. But no, trust me, like it's really, really hard. However, the nice part is those who have been founders, those who are founders, have a ton of empathy for each other
Hmm.
because you understand how hard it truly is to build something where everything is going wrong all the time anyway.
Right. Right. No, I think it's so good. I love that you said all that because I think it's a good point to make. Um, what do you feel like it's been maybe your most satisfying moment so far in business? Like you said, the highs are really high and the lows are really low, but I'd love to know maybe a little bit more on that because I think this is another good question.
Yes, by far, what makes me the happiest or why I love doing the job that I do is, again, it comes back to the people, specifically the janitors. Being able to see the impact that we have had in their lives, being able to see the pride that we have brought back into their work is phenomenal. That's game changing. I've never seen that level of satisfaction. I've always joked that I have to take the VPs out for drinks and dinner, but
Hmm.
when I go and I hang out with the janitors, they're the ones who take me out for drinks and dinner
Wow.
because they love me that much. A specific example that I think highlights this really well would be we are at this hospital. Veronica was her name. She was a 37-year-old Hispanic lady. Took us about a week to train her how to use a robot with the tablet and everything. She was a little skeptical, scared, worried about it. It's very expensive. And then finally she overcame that barrier and then she started using it and she started to love the robot. I was doing my rounds at around 11:30 in the night. She had no idea I was there. And she was FaceTiming her daughter. And to quote her exactly is, look how cool mom is. Look what I can do with this robot.
Wow.
Now that sensation that
Yeah.
I was able to make her feel cool in front of her daughter and she's proudly showing off what this machine can do. That
Wow.
makes completely all. I was like, yes, this is what I want to do. Right now, we have a project. We are actively working with, under NDA, so can't disclose it, but we are helping 200 plus disabled veterans get meaningful employment in this particular city by using robots. They were already going ahead and cleaning the airport, the rental car center, and other municipalities, but cleaning is backbreaking. We are like, hey, if you're physically disabled, especially if you're a veteran, you've already given so much of your body to your country in service. Why not use these robots? Keep your job. We will train you. We will give you meaningful employment. And we will allow you to do your tasks at a better rate, faster rate, without breaking your back, and hopefully increase your wages at the same time because you're creating more value and more money for your employer. So, those are the aspects I would say of my job that I love the most by far.
Yeah. And I love that. I love the social impact that you guys are creating with this, because again, I know we keep kind of coming back to this. I think we can say at the end of the day, we're all about making money, but I think there is something to be said when, because you're passionate about that. And I always say this, when I'm working with my people, that passion carries over into your work, and people know when you're doing something from a passion and when you're doing something just to do something, right? And that's what I'm picking up on this, and I love it because it's ringing with me. I mean, it's how I work with my clients when I'm talking to them about finding what it is they're supposed to be doing. It's like, find what you're passionate about and figure out how to use that and find a problem and solve the problem. I love it. I would like to know how you. I think you kind of alluded to this several times in this. We talked about this in the challenge part, but taking risk. How do you go about the approach on that? I would love to know.
Yeah. Yeah, startup game is a risky game. There are no two doubts about that. And he who dares wins. I think that's the motto of the SAS. I love that. I was like, yes, you need to take risks, but you need to take calculated risks. We are not venture backed in the traditional sense. I've been a VC, I've invested a good amount in the past, I've played that game. We did not want to go down this route because I was just like, hey, listen, no, I'd rather stay true to the mission and we can scale this. We can become $100 billion company without having to take on large amount of capital externally. Now, that leads to some advantages and disadvantages. Because I don't have the sheer amount of millions of dollars my friends have raised, I can't make a lot of these riskier bets. That's great. I was like, fantastic. I have limited resources, I can't. But that also forced me to be profitable from day one. So now, because we are profitable, there is lesser risk associated with the actual business itself. We're not going to die tomorrow. We're not going to disappear because we could not raise our next round. And that has been critical for a lot of our larger enterprise clients. Like, hey, listen, because you are profitable, because you're not on this hyper growth venture trajectory driven by external investors, we really like what you're doing and we would rather partner with you. I've been able to attract immense talent because of that. They're like, yes, this is slightly more risky because you're not venture backed, but it's actually much less risky because you're not venture backed. And then we have these senior executive directors. We have chairmen of public companies who go out and make phone calls on our behalf. Like I literally have a chairman of a public company who is acting as my business development person, who's calling folks on our behalf just because he loves what we are doing. And it's like, that's fantastic. So that way we have been able to de-risk it significantly. The other thing is we have a very experiment-driven mentality where we're like, okay, find the problem, understand the problem really well, quantify it, see if that same problem is faced by multiple other people.
Mm-hmm.
And once you have a very, very clear understanding of what the problem is, what's causing it, what's the need, as an engineer at heart, coming up with a solution is often easy.
Right.
And we leverage existing solutions. We leverage existing companies. We're like, hey, okay, you built a solution. Can I modify your solution so it can solve this problem?
Mm.
And that modification is often very cheap. Like, okay, fantastic. I modified it a little bit. Let me see if it solves the problem. If it does, fantastic. Then we partner with this company to actually create that entire solution and create value for everyone. And if it doesn't work, we tell the company upfront that, hey, this is an experiment. We tried, it didn't work. No harm, no foul. And we have not had to invest a ton of our resources in building something because this company already had a pre-existing solution. And we have done this on servicing, we have done this on the financing, we have done this on the data security, where we have the capabilities of being able to leverage the entire ecosystem and My mentor, Fred Gibbons, he always says there are no bad outcomes, there are only bad expectations. So we clearly set forth the expectations that, hey, we are going to run this as a pilot, we are going to run this as an experiment, we're going to see if this works. If it does, fantastic. There's a ton of value to be created. Here is the vision, here is the plan. If it doesn't, no harm, no foul. This is our limited exposure. And we have our lawyers always making sure from all sides that our exposure financially and legally is always capped. And that de risks it significantly. And quick iteration cycles. You want to be able to run an experiment and get feedback within weeks, not months, not years.
Wow. I love that. I love it. Yeah, that's awesome. So we talked a lot about the challenges. We talked about what you've loved in all of this. And I always like to kind of come back to the culture, because I know for you guys, the social impact is huge with this company. And you've obviously got team, you've got people working with you. And we know that, I go on, if you're familiar with John Maxwell, he's one of my favorite mentors. He always says leadership, everything rises and falls on leadership. So it trickles down. I stand by that. I was in an organization where I had to build teams. And so that was always kind of ingrained in me. And I think it's such an important thing in a company. So I would love to know how you guys kind of foster that culture, or maybe ensure that, that everybody knows this in the organization and they kind of follow this pattern with you guys.
Yeah, a couple of things. One, a large part of a culture is there is no job that is not my job. There's work that needs to get done, you need to do it. If that means picking up a mop and broom and going and cleaning because our robot failed and our client is pissed, I have done that. I have personally swept so many rooms. I have personally cleaned a large number of bathrooms. One second. So, like, when you see the CEO is down at 12 in the night hopping on customer service calls and telling people how to actually fix that robot that is broken, I personally believe that sets the tone as like, hey, like that is like the customer needs to be happy no matter what. And that's our first prerogative. The customer needs us, we are there anytime, anywhere. And then after that, it's also hiring. Like we specifically, most of our hiring, we don't actually hire people. We don't have job postings on our web portal. We have folks who are typically our clients who learn about our model, and then they come to us and they're like, hey, we loved what you did for us. We are down to quit our job and come work for you at a far lower base salary because we love the mission, we love the growth, we love the trajectory, and we genuinely believe this is the future. And that is how most of our team has come to work for us, is folks who have been with us as customers who learned about us. And then they convinced us that, hey, we should hire them. Even our investors, the way they invested in us is by first showing that, hey, this is the value I can bring. Here are the clients that I've brought for you. These are the things that I've done for you. Now, please let us invest in you. And it's been, touch wood, we have been incredibly lucky with the folks that we have been able to get and surround ourselves with. So I am very, very pleased the way we have been able to do that. And some of our partnerships that we have been phenomenal.
No, I think it's great. I want to commend you on it. The first part, even the part where you said the job is like the job needs to be done. And I love that because I think, I'm not in the corporate space anymore, but I know people that are, and I hear it. I work with people, that are in those spaces, and you hear that a lot where it's like somebody has a job and they're not really either one, they don't know what's going on, but you've got the clients moving between departments, right? And it gets hung up. It's snagged in a department because that person isn't there to handle it or whatever the case. So it can't move on. And I love that, what's coming to mind when I think about this is seamless flow, because you've got a situation where anybody can pick up and take care of what needs to be taken care of. So I commend you on that because I think that's awesome. And I think companies that are able to do that are a leg up because you guys can take care of your clients, which is important. Get the job done. But I also like your interviewing process too. I had a gal that I talked to on my other show that kind of talked about that too, actually handpicking people to bring on instead of just, applying for putting that out there and having everybody come up, because then you do got to go through all that process. And the way interviewing is now, you got to be careful about the things you say, the questions you ask. Why not find the people that are looking for change, that know what you're about, they're sold on what you have, they like the mission. It's a much easier. It's kind of it's like a warm market. You got the prospect. There's no cold lead in that, I love it.
Like the recent one who we got, she was a senior executive director at our client site. She wrote us she would literally sign all the checks for the things that they were buying.
Okay.
And after she left, she approached us and we were like, hey, like, yes, let's work together because you know everything who we are, you know how we have operated. And she has become our biggest champion in helping us navigate some of the most complex deals.
That's
And
good.
like we already had a very good relationship early on. She saw who we were, she saw how we operated, and vice versa. So we have had that trial run ahead of time. And I think that is very, very valuable. Regarding your question as to how anybody can do any task, the biggest reason behind that is yes, A, that's how we set the culture. B, we are also a small team. I definitely believe that once you become large enough, once you're over a few thousand people, you can't really have that. And
Yeah.
that's the biggest advantage a startup has over a larger company. And then
Hmm.
the third thing is we're also very picky about our clients. We like our mandate is to have 100 customers, each paying us tens of millions of dollars every year, and that's it. I don't want to go after the 1,000 and 10,000 and 100,000 customers. I'd rather keep 100 customers and keep them incredibly happy, and
Right.
each one of them paying us $10 million, still making $1 billion in revenue. But to keep 100 customers happy is actually feasible. And I can
Hmm.
personally afford to know each of my 100 customers. I can give them my own personal cell phone number that, hey, anything happens, here's my personal cell. You have a dedicated account manager, but here's my cell phone. Call me. You need something. I'll get there. I'll take care of it. And let the rest of the market go after the longer tail. After the 100 to the millionth customer, let somebody else take care of it. And we will help them, we will enable them. But our core business is going to focus on the top 100.
I like it. No, and I agree with you. I mean, that's how I operate my business. I have the same mindset. I think you're smarter because you're working, not working, you're still working hard, but you're being more effective and diligent and mindful about your work where you're putting it. You can't make, realistic. I mean, scientific. If you understand the whole, is it the Dunbar effect where we can only remember so many names and details about people anyways? I mean, that's a scientific thing. So if you have 100 people in your base, you're going to be able to know things about those people and have conversations with those people. You start getting too large, I mean, that just is common sense. It's going to be harder. And I'm not saying there are not businesses that do that. If you've got a smaller product and you need to get more because it's selling for less or whatever, then do that. But you're in a different market, and
Precisely.
I think there's also something to be said about even this. You know what you're looking for, right? And I think that gives you credibility in what you're doing as a business owner because you have a market that you're targeting. And you know that market, right? Like you studied it, you know who it is, you know what their problems are, and you know how to solve that. And I think that's true really for any business. When you get that clarity, you're going to be at an advantage because you know how to pitch to that client, and it's not a cold client really at this point. They are going to need that.
We don't have any cold clients. All
Yeah.
our clients have been referred to us and by word of mouth. So we don't spend a dollar in marketing. We don't do cold emails. We
Wow.
don't do cold calls. Every single client of ours has been referred to us by another client or another partner of ours. So like, hey, you need to go talk to these guys. These guys will take care of you.
Yeah, it's awesome, man. Congratulations. I think it's wonderful. And that's a great place to be. And I know many business owners that startup, that's what they want to be. They want to be at that place where the referrals are coming in. I know a guy here. So I'm in the Dallas area and I do a lot of networking. So I get to meet a lot of different people in different companies, walks of life. And I know this guy that's in franchising. And basically he pairs people up with what they are wanting to do with a franchise. And I saw him a couple weeks ago and I'm like, how's everything going? He's like, oh my gosh, I don't even have to go out there and look. I have people on waiting list. That's what you want. You want to have done your work right, studied your market, worked with that market, build those relationships so that they will send you those people. Oh my gosh, it's such a good feeling. I mean, it's like you got to have a fire burning. That's not the fire you're having to worry about. Is the finding the clients, like let
Yes,
it be in something else, right?
exactly.
I love it. I love it. So we've talked about a lot of things, and I know you are a busy guy, so I don't want to keep you forever. But I would just love to know one final question: how you maybe you said, I think you kind of said this several ways, but maybe how you define success for the business, but then also define success for yourself as the co-founder within that business.
Yes. So success for the business is same thing. We have not lost a single client yet. And I'm very, very proud of that. Every logo we have is a logo we have kept, and every logo is referenceable. I want to continue doing that. I want to, more importantly, continue maintaining these relationships. 10 years, 20 years down the line, there's a high chance I'll be doing something completely unrelated to robotics. But the people that I have met, the relationships we have cultivated, are folks I want to be able to lean back on and just have a really good conversation, be able to even grab a beer with them and say that, hey, remember that robot that broke down in Target 20 years ago? And laugh about it. That is what I would consider a big personal success slash a business success at the same time. That if you've done right by your customers and if they're happy, they will keep coming back to you. That's the nice part about these large corporates. That's the beauty of working with incredibly large companies, is that all you have to do is just keep them happy, and then they keep coming back and keep coming back. And they're like, hey, this is a problem I'm facing. This is the problem. We started off in disinfecting. We went down window cleaning and then vacuuming and scrubbing and now food delivery, all driven by my clients. They're like, oh, Anand, you helped us so much with here. Can you help us over here? Another metric we actually care a lot about, which I don't think I've ever come across another company that cares about, is how many people do we get promoted at our client side? So for every single customer we have, be it from a janitor to a supervisor, or supervisor to manager, manager to senior manager, even on the executive level, director to executive director, VP to SVP, that is something that we care a lot about. I have candid conversations over wine, over dinner with my clients. It's like, you tell me what are the KPIs that you need to report on. And not just for my clients, even for my partners, even for my vendors.
Yeah.
I ask them, like, hey, you're the VP of this. You tell me what do I need to do for you so that you become the SVP, so that I help you achieve your personal and your business goals. Because if I do that for you and I help you get that, you will help me take care of my customers. And that's another large part of how we set up as like, you tell me that, hey, this is going to help my client achieve their goals. I will move heaven and earth to make sure that happens within our company, within our partners to take care of that.
Love it. It's awesome. I love it. Thank you. Such a good thing. So if our audience wants to learn a little bit more about Cardinal Robotics, they want to catch up with you, where would you like us to send them?
Just email me, honestly. Email the team. It's team@cardinalrobot.com. That would be the fastest and easiest way to get hold of us.
Okay.
And we have a very fast response time. We typically respond within minutes of getting any email. And we'd love to be able to see where you are, what you need. And if we can help you, we'd love to be able to talk to you.
You guys are on it. Well, I love what you're doing. And as I said, I think it's a great thing. I love the social impact of all of this. And I think these conversations are so good because had we not had this, we wouldn't have even known that, and a lot of times we only see the outside of everything, but I think the why is just as important as the what, like why we're doing what we're doing. And it's a lot about what I talk. I love that we get to talk about on here. It's a lot of what I talk about and all the things I do too. It's something I learned very early on that nobody cares what you do until they know why you do it. So thank you for sharing all that. Thank you for all your wisdom and the, all this, the content that you poured out there. I know people listening to this are going to be, value this information. And of course, to the listeners, if you enjoy the show, head on over to the subscribe button and push it. So we keep continuing to share all this awesome information. So you guys take care. Dr. Anand, well, thank you for your time.
My pleasure. Thank you, Jennifer.
Thank you.